Look, have I told you about the neighbor? Ugh, the neighbor. This man, he puts up this ugly black goddamn chain link fence so his dogs can run around at 7 a.m. in the morning. And then the yard outside the fence, he doesn't even bother to do anything to. It's like the wreck of the Hesperus over there. So he puts up a fence. Now there's a hill that comes down into our yard. Half of it's his. And there's goddamn weeds that I have to look at. And your father's not going to climb up that hill at 73 and, pick his weeds. And then the leaves, of course, in the fall, the leaves blow through the fence and onto the hill. And then your father has to clean them up. The man is just, I don't know what he's thinking. So we had to take the dog to the vet. And you have to go with the mask now, and they take the dog inside. And then the vet, calls me on the phone to tell me, how the dog is doing. And it's this new guy. I don't like him at all. Do you know what he said? He said, well, the dog is overweight. Sure, we know that. But he says, the dog shouldn't look like a torpedo. How rude is that? Who says that to a person? I mean, maybe if he had said, oh, maybe you could walk the dog or something like that. But no, your dog shouldn't look like a torpedo. How rude. I don't like the man. I was driving the other day. I went to the store and I went down, I was cutting through and I forgot where I was. I ended up in Stoneham. And I didn't know, I think because I haven't driven for so long because of this friggin' pandemic. I didn't know where I was. Luckily, I drove around and around and finally I recognized some things. But I don't know. I really got lost. And then the neighbor has these big trees in his yard. Now, those trees have been here since I've lived in this house for 50 years. But no, I'm getting more and more concerned that these big pine trees, because they have the shallow roots, they're going to fall on my house if there's a storm. They're right over the house. So I wrote him a nice letter explaining this, and I put it in his mailbox. And then he calls me up, the neighbor. He calls me and he says, you wrote me a letter. And I said, yeah, I wrote you a letter. And he says, you put it in my mailbox. Yeah. Well, where else was I supposed to put it, up your ass? I'm telling you, this man, he's a real piece of work. Look, I do like Jill Biden, I have to admit. I think she's a lovely woman. And I wrote it on my Facebook. I wrote how I loved her speech. And all these assholes that I'm friends with start coming after me for it. Excuse me, but I can have an opinion on my own page. I'm really an independent. But don't tell me I can't like a Democrat. I could still like a Democrat. This isn't team sports where I hate your team, you hate my team. I can like whomever I want. These people came after me. I blocked them. Blocked. I mean, so Jill Biden is one thing, but I don't really know about Kamala yet. They're saying she was having an affair with that Willie Brown. I don't know. Now you're saying that they were together and it was out in the open and he had been separated for 10 years from his wife. Well, look, I will say this to you. Separation doesn't equal divorce, does it? So he was still technically married. Why do I have a problem with her doing that, but I don't have a problem with Trump's affairs on all 3 of his wives, including having to pay off a porn star to be quiet? What are you, a lawyer? Why didn't you just become a lawyer? You like to argue like this and throw facts in my face? You think it's funny? I mean, I think it's funny that you chose to become a writer instead of a lawyer, because at least a lawyer is out there fighting for the truth and making money. As a writer, what are you doing? You're lying and you're not making money. So who's smarter, you or a lawyer? Your father. He bought me the wrong hair dye, so now I can't even dye my hair. He bought me some kind of dark ash brown, which, I mean, look, my grandmothers were both auburn haired, so even though my hair is naturally brown, I still like the auburn hair. You know what else your father did? Your father over-fertilized the lawn and burnt it. He over-fertilized it and then had to call Mahoney's and was like, oh, I don't know why it looks like this. And I'm like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. You killed it. I'm telling you, this man is so irritating. Everything I do, he criticizes. I lost my track phone, and he was going on and on and on like it was the worst thing ever. I mean, who cares? The phone was a piece of crap anyway, so who cares if I lost it? You know, everyone says, oh, Vinny's so nice, such a quiet, nice guy. Oh, well, here's what I have to say to them. Try living with him for a month, and you won't think he's so nice and quiet. You know, the other day I was just so annoyed with him. I was like, let me leave here. I'm going to go live with my daughter. Are you still there? I was at the vet. And I was actually in there talking to the girls. I had my mask and everything on, so don't concern yourself. And I'm seeing the doctor there, the one that called my dog a torpedo. He's standing over there, very tall guy. And I said to them, ugh, you know, I don't really care for him. You know what he said about my dog? He called my dog a torpedo. And they were like, oh my God, are you kidding? I can tell they don't like him. I can tell they don't like him at all. And so I said, yeah, it's too bad I'm not wearing my pointy shoes today, or I'd go over and kick him in the you-know-what. Have I told you about the neighbor?